Since it's still summer and there's good weather outside, let's talk about some mermaids. Hi everyone, I'm Leia. Long time no see in this series that I was regularly doing, meaning I talk about top 10 books in a certain genre or about a certain topic. So yeah, I already did a lot of them, and yeah, there's still a lot of them to do in the future. And today we will talk about mermaid books. And I know that I have a lot of them still on my TBR, so if your favorite book doesn't show up, it might well be because I just haven't read it yet. I will always start with number 10 and will end with the best book that I read, although it's quite hard to say that only this one is the best mermaid book. They are all great or they wouldn't be in this list. So the very first book is actually something that I can't show you because it's only available digitally. I read it as an ebook. I think there might be also an audiobook available, but yeah, has never been published physically. So it's a very short book, part of a short story collection from Amazon Originals. They regularly bring out series like these. There's also some on science fiction, for example, and this one was all about cosmic short stories with black characters in it, written by black authors, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, this is just one of them that I really enjoyed. It's about a merman, which I always like because most books about merfolk and merpeople are mermaids typically. So yeah, seeing some mermen is always very cool. And this is about a future where people can buy properties underwater to live there. And in order to live there, they have been modified with all kinds of features to, well, shape their body to live underwater, obviously. So yeah, really liked the idea, and it's, I think, the only book in that series that I really liked. And yeah, it's only 30 pages long, so I can't really say any more about the plot, but it was very different from any other mermaidy book that I've read. And the next book is something that I should own physically, but I just couldn't find it, so I have to show it just like that, which is a shame because this really lives from all the illustrations and the overall paratext and design of the whole book. But yeah, unfortunately I can't show you that. So it's the Secret History of Mermaids by Ari Berg, which is, well, a book that is supposed to read like a non-fiction book about mermaids and, well, all about them. Where do they live? What do they like to do? How do they look? All the biology stuff that you might be interested in. And yeah, it's my favorite non-fiction book about mermaids so far. And yeah, it's also very short, but you will have to take your time reading just one page because it's filled with information. There's little things that you can open and look at, and it's just very fascinating and has some interesting facts in it that I wish were explored in fleshed out fiction books. So yeah, very fascinating if you like mermaids, but don't expect a plot or anything from it. So book number 8 is The Siren by Kira Cass, who also wrote the Selection series, and this should be a standalone book about, well, a siren, obviously. It's been a few years since I've read it, so I can't really say if I would love it as much now. But when I read it in 2019, I really enjoyed it for what it was. And yeah, I mean, I just love mermaid books, so you can't really do much wrong with books like these. And this one follows a mermaid who's been living by these siren rules all her life, saying that, yeah, you must be a secret, you're dangerous to any human, can't expose yourself to them, and so on. But then one day, some human boy turns up, obviously, and she just throws every rule overboard. And it's a very typical YA story, but I enjoyed it. Next up is Wake by Amanda Hocking, which is a start to a series, but these books are very short, so it feels like just one very long book. And this is also young adult, and it's been a few years again since I've read it, so I don't really remember much, but I did enjoy it. And I really liked that there is a mermaid series, not just a standalone as most of these books are. And the author also published a, I think, trilogy which was about trolls, I think, which I really enjoyed as well. So yeah, I just love the author's writing style. And this is about a group of mermaids who come to some town. They travel around a lot and they just want to have fun, really, not taking life too seriously or humans. And this group is transforming our main character into a mermaid. So yeah, we just follow someone who has never been a mermaid before and just experiencing all the life-changing things, good and bad things, really, because now she has some interesting powers, but I mean, there are some rules and she really needs to decide what to do. Is she going to try to have her life that she had before, or is she embracing the new dangerous siren hunger and vibe? So yeah, it's a premise that I enjoyed for sure. Again, nothing too serious, it's just fast-paced and fun. This next book, however, is definitely not fun in the same sense as the last book was, since this is a horror book written by Carl Malik III, who is known for his very weird books and writing in the genre of bizarro fiction. So yeah, this is about very deadly mermaids who are not your beautiful mermaid from other books, and yeah, not nice. You really don't want to meet them or be a mermaid when reading this book, because they like to eat human flesh. And there's an island where our main character goes, which is just, well, it has some murders going around and these mermaids might be involved. So yeah, this starts out very atmospheric, and I don't know, the second half or maybe the last third just gets very bizarre. Very over the top, but it was cool and I did enjoy myself. I think it's very unique again from a lot of other mermaid books, and I just love horror and I love mermaids, so this was a perfect combination for me. So if you're interested in a very fast-paced and weird killer mermaid book, this is definitely for you. Next up we have To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, and this is again more similar to the YA mermaid fantasy books, and this has a lot of fantasy in it. It's set in a whole fantasy universe. The other two YA mermaid books were set in our world, so yeah, really like that this didn't. And we follow two perspectives, I think, or is it just the siren? I don't remember, but I think we follow the siren and the prince, and obviously they fall in love. But yeah, I really liked the mermaid part in it. It has some Little Mermaid vibes for sure, and our main character, the siren, is collecting hearts from princes, I think. And yeah, it's her job to do that, but she didn't do it with the latest prince. And then I don't know how this happened again, but our siren is killing one of her own people, so she's cursed to have legs. So unless she wants to stay a human, she has to get the heart of this prince that we also follow. And yeah, I mean, it's just a very solid fantasy book as it is, but it also has some very interesting mermaid stuff in it. We have all the princely royal stuff in it, who has to rule his kingdom, and he hunts mermaids, of course. So there's some pirate action and seafaring adventure going on in here as well. And then both characters meet at one point and go on a mission together to find something that could destroy all sirens. So yeah, it has some real interesting magic in here and just a interesting world, decent enough characters. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Then the next one, of course, I had to feature a Benjamin Lecomte book in here. This is Undine, and I mean, it's about your well-known tale about her, but it's illustrated by Lecomte, which makes it just so much more special. And it's a very short book as well, around 40 pages long. So this is basically just retelling the old classic novella, which could be considered a fairy tale, and written by some guy, de la Motte Fouquet. And yeah, it's about Auntie Undine, which you can see on the cover. She's a water spirit, so not technically a mermaid, but close enough. And she's marrying a human man to gain a soul. And yeah, it's basically a romance, you could say. And it's been originally published in German and later translated into other languages as well. Hans Christian Andersen's portrayal of Undine also inspired him to write Little Mermaid. So yeah, just in case you didn't know the story, that's basically what it is about, without, I guess, spoiling it, even though it's so old. Like, it's been published in the 19th century, I think. This is what it looks inside, for example. So we have also some transparent art in here, which is just very cool. I hope you can see it. And also pictures like these are in here. So, coming up at number 3, we have Mermaid Moon by Susan Kokel, which is again a standalone book, and this one is very slow paced, very atmospheric, reads at times like a historical novel book, but it also has some very nice dark fairy tale vibes in it. So again, this reads fantastical even as a fantasy book, but it's also about a mermaid. It's also an absolutely beautiful edition. Just the cover alone is very pretty, but it's very pretty underneath as well, as you'll see in just a second. And it's just the basic edition and has sprayed edges, which is so cool. And underneath the dust jacket, the naked hardcover is also just so beautiful. It's the standard hardback, not a special edition at all. So yeah, that's just super cool. Since it's been a while since I've read it, I'm just having to read you something from the synopsis and from some quotes of other people who praised it. So Gregory Maguire, for example, who's also an author, said that this springs from the tides where Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid once swam and walked to land, but she delivers something even more rich and strange, and a mermaid heroine who will swim away with your heart. And then the synopsis itself says, blood calls to blood, charm calls to charm. It is the way of the world. Come close and tell us your dreams. So we follow a mermaid in it. It's written from her point of view. She's called Sana. And yeah, she's a mermaid, except her mother was landish, not sea-wish. The witch, so we have witches in here, who delivered her cast a spell that made her people and her mother forget her birth. Sana longs to find her mother so much that she apprentices herself to the witch, learns the magic of making and unmaking, and fashions herself a pair of legs to go ashore on the 37 Dark Islands, the nearest anyone can remember to where they left her mother. There, Sana stumbles into a wall of white roses and a community desperate for a miracle, and into a baroness who would do anything to live forever. So yeah, I just love everything about that. I love witch stuff in fantasy books as well, and just learning all the magic. Being an apprentice to one was very, very interesting. And then this baroness that is mentioned, she was very interesting indeed as well. And also the island that Sana is visiting had some strange people on it. So yeah, I just really liked it, but I can understand if some people don't enjoy it because it feels like not much is happening, but I like that. If the atmosphere is good and the writing style and there are characters in it that I like, I really don't have to have a lot of action going on. And then we're almost done. Book number 2 is The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro and Daniel Kraus, which is also a movie. And I mean, this is not about mermaids per se, and also I wouldn't say about a merman, but something close to it. It's about a mer creature, I would say. And this is also historical fiction set in the 1960s, I think. And the book starts out with some people on an expedition to find this mer creature who lives somewhere deep in a jungle. So nice setting there. And they capture it, bring it to some kind of facility to research on it, doing some experiments on it. And we follow a woman who works at this facility in the cleaning staff, so she has no idea about these experiments and the mer creature, but she discovers it one day and wants to help him, them, whatever. So yeah, the book is basically about the relationship between these two, and also about how language works, because they don't speak the same language, but they have to communicate somehow. And yeah, I really love that. And also it's very unique. I love the jungle setting which was in it, just for a short time, but it was interesting enough. And this facility, the historical aspect. We also learn a lot about our main character when she's at home, and then about her neighbor who's an artist. And yeah, it's just a very interesting plot, a very fascinating creature, I guess, who has some interesting powers. He's almost seen like a god, and yeah, it's really cool. This edition also has illustrations in it, which is always just very fun. And of course, it's much darker than you anticipate. I mean, it's written by Guillermo del Toro. Of course, it is more like a dark fairy tale than a happy, fluffy, fun book. So again, it's very beautiful inside and outside. So for example, this is one illustration in the book. I just think that illustrations always enrich a book, so it's always fun to discover one. And then book number 1. Guess she's shy. This is her, The Deep by Rivers Solomon. which I think is based on a song from a band or something. I have no idea, but it's very short, as you can see, and very unique again from all other mermaid books that I've read. This is a very metaphorical book as well, but even without it, it's a nice fantasy book with just deeper meaning hidden in it. So, this is basically about African slaves, female that is, who were thrown overboard by slave owners in the past, when slavery was a real thing. So, yeah, it's about how the author imagines them transforming to survive. So, they become mermaids. And then we have our main character in it, who has a very special job because she holds the memories of all her people, and she has to regularly share these memories with everyone because they will forget if they don't remember it regularly. Yeah. Weird sentence, but I think you know what I mean. So yeah, that's both a problem for all the people. I mean, if they forget everything about their past and their identity, it's bad, but also it's a very, very heavy burden for our main character to have all of these memories inside of her. So yeah, she's dealing with that problem mentally and physically, I think. So yeah, it's a very fascinating concept and makes sense in the historical context. I just think that it was written very well, very atmospheric. Although it's so short, it has a lot of it in it, and all the underwater part was very fascinating. I always love if mermaid books really take place underwater. So yeah, this definitely does that. So yeah, these were my top 10 books. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know which mermaid books are your favorite. And I hope to see you in my next one. And until then, take care, happy reading, and bye!